The pressure you're feeling right now might not be because you're failing. It might be because you're trying to live a life on a timeline that was never designed for you. And we back. And we back. And we back. And we back. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Sauna IE. I'm your host, XO. If this is your first time listening, man, welcome in. Welcome to the show wherever you at. We are ending January on a positive, great note. These last 4 weeks, we have been in our quarter one series, The Weight of Becoming. And this episode right here is just to close out January. January is where identity pressure is the loudest. You know how it is. New year, new me, new goals, new opportunities. You just have that refreshed feeling. But it's like you get into it and a few weeks in, you kind of fall off because maybe you're not truly aligned with your goals, or maybe you don't have the vision for what you're seeking. So we already know January is where expectations, comparison, and timelines start messing with our head. Before we dive deeper, before we enter February, we have to stop and finish with January. Because February is going to start demanding consistency, and then March is going to follow us up with testing our endurance for this first quarter. We need to address one thing that quietly destroys momentum early in the year, and that's other people's timelines. Because if you don't redefine success now, you'll spend the rest of this quarter chasing the wrong version of it. And you know we all don't want to do that. So let's talk about how timelines become invisible pressure. Nobody hands you a timeline, right? You kind of absorb it from family expectations, the social media highlight reels, our cultural definition of success, whether that's, oh, you got to be rich, you got to be wealthy, you got to have this amount of money, you got to have this type of house. It all comes down to the cultural definitions of success, as well as age-based milestones. Oh, you got to be married by 25, or you got to have your first house by 21. Like, who really set those standards? As well as financial benchmarks. We all know, oh, you got to be a millionaire. Nowadays, everybody's a million overnight, it seems like, right? But it really comes down to like relieving that pressure as well as relationship expectations. I know for myself personally, I'm thinking now like, damn, maybe I should have been married because everybody around me has a significant other. But, you know, it's not by a certain age you're supposed to be earning a certain amount or settled, confident, stable ahead. But you know what's rarely discussed or really said? Most timelines were created without considering generational starting points, systemic barriers, that mental health, access to capital, emotional labor, and yet we measure ourselves against them anyway. Why is that? Because that overall pressure, it can be avoidable, but we put it on ourselves. We want to be great. We want to set these timelines. We want to set these goals, but it's understanding, what do I need to achieve these goals? Who do I need to become? What can I become in the process of achieving these goals? But overall, I guess we got to start where the mental health cost of feeling behind. Feeling behind doesn't just affect your confidence, it affects your behavior. According to the American Psychological Association, chronic comparison is strongly linked to anxiety, depression, burnout, and decision paralysis. For Black men, this pressure is amplified by feeling responsible to make it, carrying family expectations, wanting to change generational narratives. Like, oh, we got to have generational wealth. Oh, I'm trying to change this, but it's understanding that pressure is like we amplify it on ourselves. Trust me, I've been there, going through it, but still. And then there's the last one where it's like you're feeling like there's no room for failure. You know what I learned this week? That you learn more from failure than success, because your failures are the stepping stones towards your success. So instead of moving intentionally, we rush. And, you know, rush decisions almost always cost us our peace. So let's pivot for a second, because there's something we all should know, right? Success is not linear, even even if it looks like that online. Social media trains our brain to believe success is fast, overnight, clean, predictable. Everybody's becoming a one-hit success, one night wonder, or whatever, one-hit wonder, whatever it may be, overnight. But we all got to understand real success looks like pauses, pivots, rebuilds, restarts, quiet seasons. A Harvard Business Review analyst shows that most entrepreneurs experience multiple major setbacks before sustainable success, even if it looks like overnight later. You're not behind, you're in the process. You know what's like really been a question that's been on my mind personally is why Black men struggle to define success for themselves. Many Black men are taught success means financial stability, providing at all costs, emotional suppression, constant productivity, being strong no matter what. And mental health was never part of the definition. So we chase success that looks good but feels heavy. And when success costs peace, clarity, or emotional stability, it creates internal conflict. That's when people start asking, why don't I feel better? Why am I still anxious? Why does this still feel empty? Because success without alignment isn't fulfillment, it's survival. So here's the refrain. Success isn't how fast you get there, it's whether you can live with who you become along the way. So ask yourself this. Does my version of success protect my mental health? Does it allow rest without guilt? Does it align with my values? And the last question, can I sustain it for 90 days, not just 9 weeks? If the answer is no, that timeline needs to be adjusted. But let's discuss the practical reset for this first quarter. I think the first reset we have to do is detach success from age. Age is not a deadline. I said dot line. Age is not a deadline, and growth doesn't move on a schedule. Simple. Number two, expand the definition of success, please. Include mental health, emotional regulation, discipline, peace, consistency. When success becomes multidimensional, that pressure really decreases. Like it eases your shoulders. And number three, replace feeling behind with building. Language shapes mindset. You're not behind, you're building. Always remember that. And number four, allow yourself to evolve. Who you want it to be at 25 doesn't have to be who you chase at 35. Growth includes revision. Before we move forward, let's pause and recap what January was truly really about. Week one, we discussed identity versus expectations. We talked about separating who you are becoming from who the world expects you to be. And then week two, I think week two is my favorite episode, simply because I feel this, was the imposter syndrome. We address why success can still feel uncomfortable and how self-doubt shows up even when you're qualified. Then last week, we discussed discipline without burnout. We reframed discipline as structure and self-respect, not self-punishment. In this episode, we challenge the pressure of comparison and dismantle timelines that don't really honor your reality. January wasn't really about, how fast to get there. It's about clarity. Because I feel like from leaving from 2025 to 2026, you maybe didn't have that time to unload and get a clear vision of what you want to do this year. You probably still linger from 2025. I know there's some habits I still got in 2025 that it's carrying over, but it's understanding like, what do I need to do? What timelines do I need to dismantle and just focus on who I need to be? But now let's talk about what's important. February. It's here, Black History Month. February is when motivation fades. Routines get tested, progress, it feels a little bit slower, right? Discipline becomes emotional. We lean towards our emotions versus our discipline when that comes. If I know how it is myself. I know how it is myself. So next week, we're shifting the focus. In week 5, we're talking about consistency when motivation is gone. Because anyone can show up when they feel inspired, but mental endurance is built when you show up anywhere. If January helped you understand yourself, that's all I wanted, honestly. But February is learning how to execute without self-destruction. So, as we close out January, understand this. You're not late. You're not behind. You're not even broken, bro. You're laying the foundation for your empire. February will build consistency, and then March, that will demand endurance. But you'll be ready. You already know, because you'll no longer be chasing someone's timeline. You'll be chasing yours. With that being said, enjoy y'all week. I'll be back with Sauna.